The final 6 months phase of this strategy is about making your move. The lower down you are on the corporate ladder, the quicker you will be able to move. The higher up, the longer this might take. The first question to answer during this phase is, what should you move for? If between your compensation target sheet and role mapping, you've realized that you are lacking specific skills needed to move up, then you may prioritize gaining those skills or experiences over the next 12 to 18 months in a role that unlocks that for you. This could be especially important for you at the start of your career when you need to build up skills and capabilities. On the other hand, you may already have the skills and experience that sets you apart, so you are moving to upgrade your compensation. Ideally, you'd always want both: more compensation and new skills or experiences. Even when moving to acquire skills, you should still negotiate for better compensation. Yet you may be slightly more open to a lower increase as you know you need the skills to accelerate in the future. Next is the question of when to move. It's highly unlikely that you will ever truly master any role. That's why this is a strategy. It's about people's perceptions of your role mastery, not your own belief that you've fully mastered it. So move as often as you have the opportunity to do it. If you are lower down the corporate ladder, try to move within a maximum of 2 years, ideally not less than every 12 months. If you are higher up the corporate ladder, still move as often as possible, but the time frames may extend beyond every 2 years, up to a maximum of 4 years. In some cases, roles offer a vast array of experience, and if you know you need this experience for a next role and haven't yet gained the experience, it could be well worth your while to stick it out. But remember, moving up is about key decision-makers' perception of you, not your view of yourself. Lastly, if you are currently 2 or more years into a role, at any level, immediately move to the second 6 months phase of this strategy. Then shorten the time frames to 2 or maximum 4 months for both the second and third phases and aim to move roles in the next 4 months, maximum 8 months. You need to get going on the process of the 6 months rule to maximize your wealth curve, so you might as well start as soon as possible. Staying at the same company for a long time has its benefits. Invariably, though, it's rare to fully maximize your wealth curve by staying at the same company. Gone are the days where you work for the same organization for 30 years and then finally become the CEO. Moving around more often gives you a better chance of maximizing your wealth curve. Here are a few ways to know it's time to go. Firstly, when your company isn't growing, or worse, shows signs of dying. If no new roles become available or your company's had years of negative growth, then it's probably time to get out. Ideally, you want to get out of a sinking ship before it starts sinking, as your reputation can become tarnished with it. Next, if the decision-makers refuse to recognize your growth and the changes in your capabilities, you have effectively been boxed in. The consequence of this is often that you keep being overlooked for roles. It could well be a sign that it's time to get out. Lastly, if you've lost your passion for the company, what it does, the people you work with, or the clients you do work for. If the passion is gone, you will struggle to move up. It goes without saying, but your career and the roles you take must be a very selfish decision. Move for you. Make the decision you feel is the correct one. Then, when are you ideally ready for interviews? If you follow this strategy, you will be interviewing every 12 to 18 months at worst. But ideally, you should always be interviewing, either officially or unofficially. Being interview-ready by constantly keeping a record of your experiences and your successes is critical to building self-belief. Building interview experience in delivering your message in response to questions and discussions takes time to finesse. As with everything in life, you can use the confidence-competence loop to help you win at interviewing. The additional major benefit of interviewing often is that you will be interviewing when you aren't desperate for a new role. This is critical to enable you to be your best during an interview. Having a nothing-to-lose attitude will make you less nervous and is a core element of negotiating well. More on that in the salary negotiation strategy. Finally, if you've taken a role and it turns out not to be what you expected, what was sold to you, or the people are just terrible, what do you do? Firstly, still follow this strategy, but shorten the 6 months phases into 4 months phases. So make a 4 months rule. This way, you are likely to still get 12 months of experience under your belt and maximize the opportunity to build connections. But if you are desperately unhappy, just get out. This may be a rare instance where you are so desperate that you would take any role at any compensation. But be sure you won't look back and say, "I could have survived for 12 months," and regret the impact on your compensation. Equally, be sure you don't destroy everything else in your life to make it through 12 months in this role. Life is simply too short. In summary, you need to assess which phase of the 6 months rule you are currently in. Phase 1, recently started. Phase 2, ready to show you have grown. Phase 3, ready to move. It's important for you to figure out where you are in the 6 months rule, and then to start applying the principles and strategies of that phase now. Remember, this is a decoded strategy. It's not suggesting you can fully master every facet of your entire role in 6 months. This strategy is showing that focusing on specific things at the start of your role massively changes how you are perceived, how your brilliance and impact is perceived by a handful of key decision makers. That's what mastering a new role is, in the context of a decoded strategy. It also forces you to take a structured approach to your career, be prepared for interviews, and better enable you to play the game with the rules that accelerate you up your corporate ladder. The 6 months rule is an accelerated and structured approach to maximizing your wealth curve and has 3 phases. Phase 1 is about ensuring key stakeholders perceive you to be brilliant at your role. Phase 2 is about preparing perceptions of your readiness as much as preparing yourself for the next role. Phase 3 is then about starting to make the move and then making it. It's important to point out that Phase 1 does not end after 6 months. You have to continue to be brilliant in your role until you move to the next one. But after 6 months, you have to start investing time and energy into your readiness perception. This strategy suggests each phase should be boxed into the shortest possible time frame, hence it being the 6 months rule. You will need to decide what is the shortest possible time frame you can commit yourself to, and then work towards that. You may also change these time frames as you move up your corporate ladder. Let's go back to Joe from earlier in this strategy. If Joe followed this strategy, it's very likely that he would have at least earned the average for his role in his city by now of $330,000. Accumulatively over the course of his career, that would have earned him almost $900,000 more. Head to our channel to discover the other critical strategies that will help you decode your corporate ladder. Don't forget to subscribe.